Hey there, players, pimps, and hustlers. You're listening to a Valor Studio recording. All publishing rights and creative licensing is owned by Valor Studios. Enjoy this underground classic that was banned from bookstores when it was first published. Knowledge will always be free at Valor Studios. Enjoy.
1,000 women, 1 year. That is roughly 3 women a day. Yes, I did it. Yes, it is possible. Yes, it is everything I ever dreamed of, and yes, you can do it too. Let's address a few things first though. Yes, it is tiring at times. Sometimes I wondered and asked myself, why am I doing this? Why do I care how many women I sleep with? Is this just some strange competition I'm having in my head against my friends and other men? Is this me trying to prove my own manhood to myself due to some kind of perceived lack thereof? Am I just trying to fill some void within myself with the external validation of a stranger, thinking I'm attractive enough to let me have sex with them? I had lots of questions, as I'm sure you do as well. Here are some quick answers to my most commonly asked questions. Yes, I caught innumerable STDs, but you must remember that our country was founded by great men with syphilitic brain rot. Do I have any regrets? Not at all. Did I ever get tired of having sex? Never. How many sexual partners must a man have before he feels adequate about himself? I'd say 3 is baseline to not feel bad. 10, and a guy can feel pretty okay. Breaching the 30s and your hunger only grows. Once a man hits 50, he feels he's getting somewhere. 100 is where most high body count men peak. So that's why I pushed myself to go even further. Every man who is reading this book know the classically bad advice of be yourself. Don't worry, men. This book will not be telling you to be your current pathetic self, who is listening to a book about how to sleep with 1,000 women in 1 year. Forget how ridiculous of a premise it is, but really think about sex. This was more than pursuing desires, or maxing out my charisma, or looks maxing. This is about blowing away the very foundation of who you are to become someone else, someone better. It was absolutely an athletic feat, even an Olympianic feat. I suffered exhaustion at many points, sometimes having to defecate or urinate while in the act. I didn't see my friends at all that year, and was pretty much in my bedroom the entire time. So let's get into it. Everyone wants to hear cold hard facts about strategy, but this is a misguided notion, which is what has kept you a virgin or incel for so long. You must completely do away with logic. Women are not logical beings. You must learn to communicate with and understand the language of irrationality, of dreams, of the subconscious. What you will learn here is an art, not a science. Step 1 will be to erase who you are, so that you can be rebuilt from the ground up. Let us begin. Women, much like us, are sentient sacks of flesh, bristling with struggles against an impure nature. When we cast a bright searchlight upon the heavy dark well of the human psyche, we may catch the flicker of sittering appendages as they run from the sterilizing light of visible day. Much as a vampire disintegrates upon their flesh, being illuminated by waves of photons, so does the truth of our shadow vanish immediately. What are you under the microscope? Do you consider yourself a man? Why not an insect? Not an insect. A fearful rodent living from crumb to crumb. The ever-lingering fear in your DNA that you are a creature of prey. Eyes to the sky for the dreaded silhouette of a wingspan casting its cold shadow down over you. What are you afraid of? The gnashing, gnarling teeth coming to take a bite out of your plump, pink, little belly. Better pass on your genes before it's too late. You do want to live on, don't you? You don't want to join the piles of dust, do you? One corpse among many, bones have no names. Your vile nature. Are you not ashamed? No, you have no shame. You must sick yourself onto someone else. Force them to help carry your burden. If you drown, you don't want it to be alone. So pass it on, from your mother, to the one you love. Obsession. Pass the burden, pass the load. On to the next generation, into the next open mouth. Gargle it, swish around, spit it out to the next. Who's left holding the hot potato when the climate clock ticks its final talk? Did dinosaurs have names? The giant godless reptiles that roamed the earth for millions of years without so much of the faintest concept of what you call dignity. Women. You want women. That's your solution to this everlasting dread? You can have women. I will teach you. First, you must forget who you think you are. You must let go of and stop grasping on to every bare thread, every spare crumb, every tiny hair that grounds you to who you think you are. Rip the band-aid off, rip the mask off, turn the speakers higher, blast the skin off of your meek carcass. When you see her, what do you see? Your desires manifest. She is a screen, you are a projector, watching and chasing your own images, wafting out through your pores like some rank sewage stench. Who is she behind her eyeballs, under her flesh, inside of her bones, between the molecules that no longer represent the faintest idea of who she is? You are chasing your own tail, energy trapped between two mirrors, and here you will sit for eternity if that's how long it takes, stuck in a stasis of chasing your own projections. Perhaps this is who you really are, a pathetic and scared life form, going from one hiding place to another. Is a woman not a hiding place? What do you want from a woman? Shelter from the storm. A receptacle for your vile acidic bile? Are you not a throbbing exoskeleton insect carcass yourself? Living on a mote of dust, eating fungus and mold and mildew to survive? You will never get anywhere so long as you cannot look at your own reflection. I do not say such things to hurt you or harm your self-esteem, but to ground you in the only home you will know, your own body. How will you have sex with 1,000 women in a year if you cannot even feel good about your own body? It doesn't quite feel like it's yours, does it? You take it for granted. You don't even quite put it together that what you put inside your body is affecting you. When you buttery popcorn and corn chips and candy, you don't really think about the sugars and oils entering your bloodstream. You don't think about that heart thumping in the middle of your chest, shooting out that butter and lard and grease into the tips of your fingers and through the grooves of your brain. You are in your body, you are your body. Body is mind, mind is body. Stand in front of the mirror naked. Look at yourself. Do it for an hour if you can. Do it for multiple hours if you have the time. You need to solidify the connection between yourself and your body. After all, it is your body that will need to perform the act of sex. You do want to have sex, don't you? With 1,000 women in 1 year. Like me. Why is that? Like a business or anything else created in this world, we need a why. What is it about multiple sex partners you so crave? Maybe we can inverse this question. Maybe it isn't the desire of rampant sex that drives you toward this book, but perhaps it is the repulsion away from the alternative. What is the alternative? No sex. An unfulfilling relationship with one person. A failed marriage. What is the fear? Do you fear you can never have a successful relationship, no matter what? Perhaps you have internalized the thought that nobody will ever love you long enough to see the real you. Maybe you fear that they will leave you as soon as you make yourself vulnerable. As soon as that ugliness rears its head, you fear they will see your true weakness and feel revolted at the sight of you. Like a dream where you're naked in public and everybody can see your sex organ. Perhaps they even point and laugh at it. You try to hide it, but it's impossible. Shame. Isn't it sad that we feel so much shame and hatred towards our bodies? None of us asked to be here, nor did we ask for our bodies. Some bodies can't even support life past the stage of the fetus. Some people get diseases as children. Isn't it awful that even as adults we have to feel our bodies as big burdens? As liabilities? Liabilities? As something that will one day fail us and take down with it everything we ever worked for? Well, you need to start asking these questions and grounding yourself more inside your body. You will need it to have sex with 1,000 women. Now let's talk about me for a bit. Does my claim of having sex with 1,000 women grant me authority of knowledge and wisdom? Is that a currency that buys your attention? Am I a stand-in for an older male figure to teach you things? Am I filling in the void for the absence of such a person? You didn't have a father, did you? Or the one you had wasn't any good? I understand. Nobody wants to completely condemn their parents, even if only for the selfish idea that they are a reflection of us. Maybe he wasn't bad, but you never knew him well enough. You were never close enough. Never had those movie moments where he puts his hand on your shoulder and says, "This is what love means, my son." Never gave you a good enough why. We all resent our fathers or lack thereof for that, don't we? But it's not our father's fault that we came to be. Maybe it was something beyond the act of procreation that willed you into this incarnation. Perhaps you came catapulting into this earth from disparate corners of the universe, unified into one energetic explosion, like lightning striking. Perhaps something before your body willed itself into existence. Opening your eyes for the first time, and taking in the physical, material plane. Emerging from the dark, swampy nothing to see, hear, and taste. This is clearly not an interesting premise to you. Sleeping with 1,000 women in 1 year, however, is. Alright, Define, since you have made it this far, I will finally tell you how I did it. Only because you must really want this for yourself if you continue seeking out this information. Clicking on headlines, baiting you to pay with your attention, your time, your engagement. It's a transaction, and transaction is the name of the game here. Whether you pay for sex literally, or with your time or your energy, everything has a price. Forget everything except sex. If you have sex 3 times a day, it's all you have time for, and everything revolves around it. You still need time to grocery shop and eat. Get a remote job if possible. It's easier if you space the sex apart, like meals. The morning is the easiest. You just ride out that morning wood for a good quick one. Noon is the trickiest as many women have jobs, or their lunch breaks aren't long enough for them to come over and have sex. Dinner is medium difficulty. When you have sex 3 times a day, it stops feeling like sex. It loses any and all meaning. Flesh slapping flesh, urge meeting impulse, meeting desire, anger, frustration, all releasing, transmuting into the violent thrusts of the animal nature, which society has tried its best to tame and reel in for millennia. You can train for this by watching porn as much as possible. Your ideas of sex need to be cremated and rise from the ashes a new concept. Bodies won't even be bodies anymore. Pleasure, pain, boredom, wondering why we do what we do, wondering what drives impulse and desire. It all washes out in static and noise, and we return to that primordial darkness. But it is a lively static. Your cum will get thinner and thinner, resemble water, lose its potency. You will become a sperm factory. The ingredients for life keep missing each other's. Like lightning that never forms and never touches the earth. Potential and potential crashing, colliding, but always missing. The recipe never complete. The equation never balanced. And this is how the world becomes sterile, muted, desire placated, put in jars, collected, trapped on display in a neat grid on a For You page. All these grasping hands, drooling mouths, the fruiting trees of virtual pleasure and compulsive masturbatory noise. The comfort, the caress of mother, the cold steel of a sterile scalpel, lovingly cutting into your brain, like people who always have the TV on. That reverberation of other voices is comforting in a coffin-sized room. Like choirs in a cathedral, a loud primal orgasm, a shriek, a scream of pleasure, of disbelief, of a conscientious flip to its animal state. The validation of your reason to exist, to pass on the flame of life, to water the next seeds, to continue down the conveyor belt to your obsolescence. Recreational sex is almost a defiance to our nature, a hack, an exploit, a glitch in the matrix. We wonder why we can't find purpose, why we shift our focus to arbitrary goals like having sex 1,000 times in a year. It is the impossibility of such a feat that makes it the perfect goal. When a goal is impossible, we can imagine and fantasize endlessly about how it will change our life. For some of you, losing your virginity seems impossible enough. You can fantasize about how it will be. You can wonder about it. How you will come out the other side of the experience a changed person. Those who have lost their virginity are scarcely satisfied. It didn't do the trick, they need more. It's not enough to meet the baseline goalpost of manhood. They need to compete and compare with other men. Need to get their score higher. It becomes a central identity for many men. So much of their waking hours are devoted to the pursuit of sex and seduction, hoping that lay number 34 will be the one that finally converts them into the hardened, no-nonsense, wistful, alcoholic, poet fornicator that they've dreamed of being since teenage years. When that dream dries up, you're left with the idea that perhaps you were always bound to change, and perhaps those experiences had little to do with it. 1,000 women, sex with them, 3 times a day, a different partner every time. Life nothing but sex and healing from sex. Confession. When I was in middle school going through puberty, I imagined that heaven would be some form of this. that I would get to have non-stop sex for eternity. What a barbaric and animalistic idea. How human. Do you truly want to have sex with 1,000 women in 1 year? Is that a desire that truly comes from the core of your being? Would you still want to do it if you couldn't tell anyone about it? If nobody cared whether you did or not? If there was no merit or currency in it? That's the problem with many of you. You are a dog chasing a garbage truck. If you somehow managed to live out your wildest porno fantasies, you still wouldn't be happy. It's about as satisfying as eating pizza every day. You don't truly want it. You want the idea of it. And more than the idea of sex, you want the idea of being somebody else. You don't want to be the nerdy shut-in with corn chip crumbs strewn about your chest. You don't want to be the creepy guy with a bad haircut who asked out every girl in his high school class via Instagram. You want to be the guy who somehow has sex with 1,000 women in 1 year. What does that guy look like? Does he have a good relationship with his family? His father? His mother? Is he loaded with money? In a nice car with high fashion models by his side? Where does his money come from? Why do people respect him? Do people respect him? Can money buy respect? How about the flaunting of influence? The attraction of women? Is he not flesh, bones, and blood like the rest of us? What will he do in a food shortage? When gas gets expensive? When his industry crashes? Will his brief joy ride be over? Will he become a warlord? Will he haul up in a compound in rural Idaho and wait out the rest of his years? There is little to no existential threat to any of us, and the loss of that threat has taken much of the meaning out of our lives. In short, you will never have sex with 1,000 women in 1 year. The entire premise is an absurd reiteration of a misguided desire. You instead need to face yourself, your insecurities, and figure out what it is you truly want, outside of the influence of family, friends, and broader society. Ask yourself what you want, you and only you, and go towards that beacon like a moth to a flame. Thank you for reading.